Welcome to Soulfull. Whether you're navigating challenges or celebrating victories,
We're here to remind you that every step on your path is meaningful. I'm Tiff,
and I'm Jess.
so let's clear our mind as we fill our soul. Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Tiff here, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Jess. We're here to have another fun hour with you
Hello.
guys. Yes, hello. Looking forward to it. This is one of my favorite parts of the week or every couple of weeks where we get together and get to have a really deep conversation that just soothes my soul, honestly. I mean, I think it's a lot of why we came
Mhm.
up with the name, but it does. I walk away feeling so recharged. And I'm really feeling like I need that today, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. So before we jump into the topic, let's go ahead and have a check-in. And Jess, you can kind of let us know whatever feels relevant over the past couple of weeks since we last came together.
Oh my goodness. I feel like not much has changed, and then also like a lot of things have changed, but yeah, I just don't really think there's much different than last time. It feels very status quo over here. I did have a beautiful, I think on the last recording, the weekend was coming up where I was looking forward to doing nothing. And I did have that weekend. So just last weekend, like a few days ago, um I was home by myself. So I had the whole house to myself, me and my puppers, Nova, and I just didn't really do I organized a lot. Like I did a lot of organizing, kind of like closets and storage rooms and things like that that had been done for a while. But it didn't feel like tiring or exhausting. It just felt like really good. When I had it done, I was like, oh my God, this feels so nice to have this done. Because it's been on my to-do list for like longer than I care to admit. So even though it was like a slower weekend, I got some of those things done, so it's good balance. But and then I got to spend lots of time outside before the weather gets really cold, and Nova won't want to she won't want to go out with me, so I have to go with myself after a certain temperature. But this weekend Nova was still up for it, so we spent some time outside. But yeah, it was just a really nice weekend. I haven't had one of like those fully kind of off to do whatever I please by myself for like a long time. So
Oh.
it was brilliant. It was so good.
I will say in the voice note you sent me, you sounded like totally elated. Like, I was just organizing my closet. I don't know where the weekend went. You're just like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, what about you? What's
Um,
going on over
well,
you?
I have a
Oh,
question first. How cold is it before it gets colder? How cold is it there right now?
right now it's probably, I think it's like somewhere in and around like -10.
Okay, okay,
So it's like pretty mild. And in the daytimes, like it doesn't like yeah, it gets like to be like one -1-ish. So yeah, it's
okay.
still doable. Yeah, not too
Yeah,
bad.
-10 in November. My goodness. Not freezing cold, you're right. Like, not gonna die cold, but the fact that this is before it gets colder, I'm like, that should be my maximum, -10. My maxi max. Uh, yeah, we had a really like weird, like October was so warm. It was 36 degrees in the beginning of October. We're in the
Hmm.
lake. Like I have a picture in the lake. And then by the end of October, it was getting ready for a snowstorm. And so like in just the span of a few weeks, it was so crazy to see all my plants still in bloom and then covered in snow. So it was just
Yeah.
like um yeah, anyway, and I think I talked about that last time because I was gardening literally right up until the last day right before it snowed. It has been kind of gross here since, which I don't love. We've had sleet and like more snow and like it hasn't
Mhm.
still fully melted even from when it snowed a few weeks ago, which I was really not anticipating this early on because there's been times on my birthday where it's been like t-shirt weather in November. Now, not often, I will say, but I have lived through that during COVID in specific. So,
That's crazy. Like that's like yeah, near the end of November and it's been wow. Yeah,
my
that's
kiddo
crazy
in
to think.
shorts, I have a picture. He's in shorts on my birthday. We're at the park. And
Oh,
yeah, That's the kind of
Yeah.
weather I like.
That doesn't happen here. So
No, yeah, I wouldn't be able to live there. It's hard enough living here. I wouldn't be able to live there. Um, but in terms of a check-in, yes, I've had a very eventful week. It has been a full week, between my crafting of Whoville, which has been
yeah.
a little bit of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Like just to I can't half-ass things. Like once I've committed to something, and then the cost of crafting these days is not cheap. So every time I waltz my little behind into Michael's, I waltz back in and I'm like, oh my God, add that to the list, add that to the pile. Today was just a bottle of paint and glitter, but it was still another $15. It was like, okay. Anyway, I've been really enjoying that, but my living room looks like crafts exploded. And I might need to like call in some reinforcement moms or something, like put out a desperate post on my Facebook moms group and be like, who wants to craft for free on me, but I need help. Can you come help me pull this all together?
Yeah.
Um, but more than that, I did have dental surgery on Monday, and
Hmm.
I was so nervous going in. But I gotta tell you, the dental surgeon had a 10 out of 10 approach to dealing with me in specific. I don't know about other people, but he knew I was nervous and I was feeling nervous. They like when she put the IV in, she's like, you know, you can breathe, right? I was like, yes. Um, when I was younger, I wouldn't have a second thought about it. I would just go be put under and like just do what I got to do. And at this age, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what could happen? What are the complications? Like,
Yeah, we know too much.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Ignorance is bliss. They do say that. But so the surgeon looked at me and he said, "So this is what you're going to do when we wake you up and you're going to be out of sedation. You need to look at your partner and call him by your ex's name. He's going to act like he's fine." He's gonna act like he's fine, but you're gonna mess him up. And it made me laugh so hard that like the nerves went away and they're like, and now we're putting you to sleep. So it was definitely his approach to like make me relax before they did that,
Yeah.
but it was effective.
Yeah.
Um, so I really appreciated that. Anyway, it made me laugh. I
That's
didn't
so
do it, but I did record a very loopy video of me telling my family that I was starving and no one would let me eat. I'm starving. All I'm allowed is apple juice.
oh, that is so funny. So when I had my wisdom teeth like
Yeah.
took out, what was that, like earlier this summer or later this summer, whatever, a few months ago. Um I was like a very similar thing, like when they were, because they didn't put me under for my wisdom teeth. So, but anyways, I was telling the dentist that like when I was put under for my gallbladder surgery, um it was when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like Mitchell said, like, on the way from the like hospital to home, like I probably said that about 50 times. Like I was like, I'm just so tired. Like, and so I was telling the dentist that when I was getting my wisdom teeth, and she's like, oh, she said, that's okay. We'll get to be the funny when we go to take the other, because I need to get my other side out. And I had to get put to sleep for those. And she was like, that's okay. He'll get to make fun of you and you'll be funny for this side, not
Yeah.
this side. She said. Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is funny. Well, you're not, I wasn't, you're just not fully with it yet, right? Like you're still,
Yeah.
well, the nurse told me I got myself from the surgical room into the chair and I have no recollection of that. She's like, you actually did that. I was like, that is
Yeah.
very alarming.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, it's so, and I think, yeah, being an adult, like you just, yeah, you know too much. Like you just, it's kind of like putting all these things together because, yeah, other surgeries, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
But when I kind of like in my recovery, the day or two after, just like looking at the videos or like, whatever, just show me stories, I was like, oh my gosh, I was out of it. Like I
Yeah.
was just completely out of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Too funny. Well,
that's awesome.
I'm grateful it was easy. It's done. I'm just so grateful it's done. Well,
Mhm.
this was step two. It's a three-step surgical process. So step two is complete, and step three can't
Okay.
happen until late March, early April at the earliest. So at least I've got another little bit of time before I have to do that. But
Yeah.
public service announcement, take care of your teeth. No, I mean, I do take care of my teeth, but sometimes there's stuff out of our control. So,
So true. Yeah.
yeah, no teeth shaming on here. Anyway, so on that note, we are going to jump into today's topic, which directly relates to a bit of an announcement Jess and I have come to agree upon, and we're not entirely sure where everything's going right now. But what we have decided to do is to take a pause for the end of this year and the very beginning of next year, with a return in late January, early Feb. I think we talked about early February. Well, we'll come back with season two. We are looking at revamping some things, looking at adapting ourselves. One thing Jess and I promised to do from the get-go, from that very first session, is to show up as we are and in our growth. And a lot has changed for both of us over this past calendar year, with
Mm.
employment, with obligations, with things that we've had to show up for. We've expanded and grown in many ways outside of this as well. So yeah, so we're taking a small pause to re-clarify direction, see where we may go, and make some bigger decisions, so we can come back and have some more fun. Jess,
Mhm.
anything you want to add in about that?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think it just, yeah, it feels, I guess I would just say it feels like right,
Yeah,
and it's, yeah, like I think it's important. I think one of the things that we talked about from the beginning as well is like, that intentional space. And as much as this is a space for, um, I hope others who are listening in and, connecting with us in this way, but yeah, it's also a space for us, right? Like it's a space for me to come to have like, and so, yeah, it's important to, yeah, keep it aligned to what we, initially set out to do. And yeah, with that, like things are always changing and being, growing and stuff. So, I am excited. I think that when we come back, we'll have, some, uh, that like the direction kind of feel and really rooted in what's next and yeah, and it still is going to be intentional, so I think that's
yeah,
like all the things that we is really important to us. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what's next.
yeah. Very well said. And yeah, staying in that alignment with the intention and is so important.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, when we first started talking about this, I know I felt very nervous about it at first. I was like, what does this mean? Like, are we putting it down? Like, a lot of things went into my mind in reflecting on making these decisions of like, how we're going to move forward together, because we collaborate together, right? And it's a team effort. And you and I are both dancing around like, yeah, let's, I'll do what I'll make it work, or, but yeah, I'm really glad we landed in this aligned space and made this decision, for us right now in terms of how we're going to move forward, and more to come once we spend some time working on that piece. uh, yeah. And on that note, it is a nice segue. It's a part of it totally relates into our topic of like, the topic today is going to be talking about like making really big decisions that have big impacts on our lives, and like kind of some of the tools and frameworks maybe that we use to try to support making big decisions, or supports we may lean on, but also what it means to kind of come back to center and trust our gut and our intuition and maybe connection to a higher power, if you have that. To listeners out there, I know that that's not everybody's chosen path, and that's okay. But just how can we blend being very practical and logical in making decisions for ourselves? Because I know me, hand up in full honesty, I used to be very impulsive. It was nothing for me to make a change, but but I never would think things through. And then I think in the process of learning not to be impulsive, I went and flipped the pendulum the other way and was like, oh, now I need to overthink everything to death. But neither felt true or right. And so I'll share a little bit about the topic and kind of what happened, because I feel a little wishy-washy as I talk about this on here, actually, because I came on here last session, or last time we met together, or the time before, and I was like, there was a job opportunity. It really piqued my interest, and and then I came to a full happy decision where it was a full no, and like I feel good. I want play. I want rest. I've worked so hard. Just kidding. So what's interesting is I wrote an entire newsletter based on how concrete I felt in how I made my decision. I'll talk about the tool later, but I use a framework that has really served me most of my adult life in making conscious decisions. Um, just a fancy pros and cons list, really. But anyway, it was clear. It was clear to me what I wanted to do. Yet the night before I was supposed to post the newsletter, there was this like little niggling in the back of my head of like, I don't think you should send that newsletter. I'm like, I'm supposed to send it on the first Monday of every new month. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to send it? Conversations with myself. Welcome to the crazy in my head. Um, and so I settled and I was like, okay, I guess I won't send it. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And then the very 2 days later, I'm at a luncheon where the very job I considered was proposed to me. And it was like, why is your name not in the hat? Like, we were very much expecting. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
But just because there's still things in the air. But all that to say is there was something bigger going on that my logical practical brain couldn't wrestle the whole way around to make a decision, and it just opened this big channel. I don't know if telling the story clearly, but it opened this big channel of like, how do we make big decisions? We don't know future outcomes. I know we want to think we do and we can hold this crystal ball, but how do we come at it from for me like, it can't just be just the practical logical nature. I'm such an intuitive person that I need to trust in on my gut and my intuition to really lead me into these spaces as well. So that is the conversation that we are hoping to have today, and I'm excited to invite you in, Jess. And so before we even like kind of get into any of the questions, is anything coming up for you around this topic, around decision making and practicality or intuitive or any of it really?
Yeah, like I think, yeah, I really like the way that like that you've broken that down like to like the practical and the intuition part, and then they do intersect, right? Like those like two things can be true at once. Like we could have the logic, we could feel a certain way, or be in tune, like, kind of like have a gut feeling, however you want to say it. And yeah, I mean, you know me, I just love spaces where there's like duality, right? Or
Yeah.
triple-ality or quadruple-ality, whatever. Like just the more the merrier. So I think just thinking about those two things, like logic and intuition, like yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm excited for the conversation, and to, I hope, like, yeah, to share, that it doesn't have to be one way or the other. We could logically know something, but that doesn't make it feel right or feel aligned with
Yeah.
our values or our beliefs or our, yeah, just our gut. So yeah.
Yeah. And how to like, I think for people listening too, if you're like, I think even knowing how to discern that intuitive voice. I'm not saying we're even going to get into that today, but to discern that intuitive voice as something to trust and listen to and follow, like that in itself is for me half the battle.
So true.
Yeah. There were just for me, yeah, actually I'll save that for later. So I think we'll jump into kind of I the topic is kind of flowing today in terms of we're gonna jump into kind of the practical piece first because I feel like this is something tangible that people can grab onto. If you don't have, this is a question I often ask my coaching clients, like, how do you make hard decisions? Because often they're coming in with me with a split of like, it could go two different ways, and there's emotion that then gets all riddled into the complexities of it, and it makes it a lot harder to tease apart in your like in well in my own I'll speak for myself in my own specific mind when it gets layered and complicated like that. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, Jess, do you have any tools? Like, we'll start it off on a real practical nature. Do you have any tools, frameworks, processes, anything that you use that helps really ground making like logical decisions? And I know you're in a position of like authority and stuff within your work, so I'm sure you have to make complex decisions probably pretty often. But I don't want to speak for you. So, yeah, do you have any of those things in place?
Yeah, like, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just gonna really preface this with saying, like, decision making, I'm so bad at it. Like, I'm really bad at making decisions. I just am. It's because and this is like, I don't care how it sounds, but like, this is what I honestly believe. I honestly believe that no matter what the decision is, it will be okay, right? And so I think that adds to like this layer of like I don't always feel strongly about one way or the other because I just believe that whatever the decision is, it's going to be fine. So just pick one, right? Like
Okay.
I don't want to be the one picking it because it's hard to choose. So I'm just
Yeah.
happy to like anyway, so I just feel like it's really important for me to preface with that because I'm very indecisive. I will say I'm indecisive outside like my professional
Yeah.
like life. Like professionally, yes, like, I think that's very different. Like especially, being in leadership, you kind of do you have to feel confident and be decision makers and,
Yep.
like support team and your team and stuff in that way. Um, but yeah, like as a person outside of work, like so indecisive. Like I'm the person like, I don't know, what do you want to eat? Like I don't care. Like what do you want to eat? Like you just tell me what do you want to eat? Um, so when I think of like practical tools, and so I'm gonna like, I guess the other thing is that I'll these are tools that I would use for maybe like more harder decisions, like not
Yeah.
like what we're eating for supper, but like kind of I mean, I'm sure I've used some of them when I'm deciding what takeout I'm getting to, but I guess like the first thing I honestly think of is like I have to really clarify what is it that needs to be decided, right? Like there's a
Mm.
big decision, like before I can decide it, what is it that I'm deciding, right? Like yeah, what is it? When does it need to happen? Like that tells me information on like how serious do I have to like get into the decision making mind, right? If it's something that needs to be done by tomorrow, then, I'm going to have to probably think about a decision quicker than if it's something happening in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that would be the first for me. And then, well, I know you mentioned a pros and cons list, and so I do a pros and cons list all the time, or a cost benefit, kind of long-term benefit, or cost risk long-term benefit kind of thing. So I often do those lists. It's just a really simple way for me to
Yeah.
get it out on paper and see it. Um, and when I was just sharing about the first all my indecisiveness, I was just thinking like when I make a decision, I actually think of the worst case scenario.
Mm.
So I'm actually like, what's the worst that could happen? If I decide this, what's the worst thing? And then I don't know why, but it just helps me be like, oh yeah, I could do that for sure. If that's the worst thing that comes from this decision and picking this over this, I got that. Like that's fine. So it's kind of like I don't know if that's a good thing or like a bad thing where I'm just like thinking of the worst case scenario. But I do find that that is very helpful for me when I'm trying to
Yeah.
like decide something.
I actually really love that. That lit my brain up, and I have a follow up question for you if that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you said a lot of good things there, but like that last piece, the worst case scenario, it's almost like and you correct me if this isn't your experience, but this is what I heard from it is like it's like you lean into the fear of like, okay, my fear is here, and like having a bit, I lean in. What is the worst case? Okay, well that's manageable. So it's like you're right there with it, as opposed to it controlling the narrative, like in the background.
Yeah, I've already got the answers. Like, listen, you know what? If this all goes upside down, I know I'm gonna be good. I've already thought about it like
Yeah,
500 times. It's gonna be fine.
right. No,
Yeah.
I actually, you said I don't know if that's a good thing, but I feel like that is, especially if, because fear isn't always present for me making a big decision necessarily, depending on what it is, right? It can really depend, but often fear is there alongside. So like to really like be with it versus like, yeah, it having more control or power. I don't know. I think that's smart. Um, and I don't think that's something I've ever maybe I intuitively or naturally do that, but I don't know. It struck. The other thing you said is that you clarify what is the decision needing to be made, and I think that that sounds so simple, but it actually like so fundamental. Like what is actually needing to be decided? Like what is it finite? Like is this an ongoing thing that I need to prep for? Like is there more decisions going to be in? Like do I need to make this decision to line up a bunch of other decisions, like being clear on that part, like that makes a lot of sense too. um
Yeah, I think like that's like a roadmap for like anything, right? It's like
yeah,
the why. Like I think it's so important and it's such a
yeah,
simple thing, but it's missed all the time. And I don't know if you've heard of I don't even remember actually where I learned this, but I learned it a long time ago and I still use it. It's like the five whys. So like if I have to make the decision, my first is like, why do you have to make the decision? Okay, because the decision is because whatever reason, right? So if I decide this is going to happen. Why? And then you go down five whys until you just really are clear in what it is that you're trying to decide. Um, and yeah, that's like the clarification or the clarity on the decision making. I always go back to the five whys.
The five whys. I don't
Yeah.
think you've talked about that here. I don't have a recollection of that. It does sound vaguely familiar,
Yeah.
so yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like you're drilling yourself down of like yeah, like going deeper and deeper into into the reasoning by questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, these are things that maybe I probably should have reached out and had this conversation with you before we even came on here, before I had to make big decisions. Um, but yeah, because like for me, do you have any other tools actually before I don't want to rush ahead? Were there other things that
Well, I think like yeah, I think those are usually the things like I just think of worst case scenario, get really clear on the why and what I'm trying to decide, and then do my pros and cons list.
yeah, pros and cons. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was taught by one of my mentors, and I don't know if it makes a huge difference for some people, but it does make a huge difference for me. So pros and cons list is a big way that I go because my brain runs so fast that until I take it and I write it down, it's like not very grounded. It's just like all of these truths spinning around my head that I don't know if it's true or not because there's so much layered there. But
Mhm.
I had a mentor tell me that when you're making because I was making a big decision at the time, and he said, you don't just make a decision of pros and cons for the thing you're going towards change. You also want to look at pros and cons of staying where you are. And I love that
Mhm.
piece because then it's like it allows me to reflect on some different things as well. And I'm not just like, because for me, and this is what I wrote in the newsletter, I have a tendency to chase new and shiny. So like for me, it's very easy for me.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of doing new things. I'm not afraid, which some people are, right? And like that's fine. We're all different. But for me, that
Mhm.
because I'm aware of that, like I can't just jump on my pros and cons list is going to look very biased. It's going to be like, look at all the great things I can have from making this decision. So I do really love bringing it back to pros and cons of staying where I am because it also like gives me a chance to kind of be in the acceptance of my current reality and do I like that or do I want to be in a more aligned space or more growth or more like where do I see this going more long term?
Yeah.
So he called it, I don't know if it's like an official framework, but he called it the quadrants of change. And you put it in like a little quadrant and you list the pros and cons for the new thing, pros and cons for being where you are. And he explained it that whatever list has the longest thing, it's usually a pretty strong indicator. You let it live and breathe for a while you're making the decision, but it usually has a
Mhm.
pretty strong indicator of which way you're wanting to lean, but maybe it's hard to do or whatever the case might be. So
Okay.
that tool has really served me, not this time,
Yeah.
which has been interesting, but it has served me. And that's why I think there's more layers to it. I love that you use the word duality. I think sometimes like we can have all the best tools and frameworks and practices that work for us, and sometimes things are just not as clear cut as that, and that's okay too. But yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is that I've learned to use is like taking time to slow down and write. And the other thing that I kind of just alluded to in that, but like for me, clarity of my values is really important. It is how I live my life and it is how I stay aligned and connected to myself a lot of the time when things are really up in space. So really thinking about things through the lens of like, is this leading me more towards things that feel right for me? Obviously, I can't predict all of that outcome, but I can look at things kind of from that lens of like it does this job feel aligned? Do we share vision? Do we share values? Is there a mission? Like before I jump, because again, my brain wanting to jump in new and shiny, it wants to just look at how much greater my life's gonna be, like grass is greener kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I have learned time and time and time and time again, the grass is not greener on the other side. It is green where we water it. And my own grass has been a testament of that.
I was gonna say like figuratively and like
and
literally.
and quite literally. Yeah, when
Yeah.
everyone was in drought and my grass was lush green. Yeah.
And that's so cool.
Not sure that I
Uh,
should be bragging about that because I was using all the water. But anyway, it actually wasn't a drought. It
yeah,
was
but
just a
your
dry
grass is
spell. What? What'd you say?
I said, yeah, but your grass is green.
It was lush. It was a nice carpet under my feet.
Exactly.
So for I mean, I think this is a helpful conversation. I know that this is a conversation I would have needed to have years ago. Well, I did with that mentor because, I don't know, nobody sat me down in school and was like, this is how you make complex decisions. It's just like one of these things that you now need to assume as an adult. Like, now you make all of these decisions. Like, I have to make decisions that keep this other human alive. I'm like, who put me in charge of that? You know, it's, it can be a lot. Um, I have a twofold question. Why do you think we reach for some of these tools and frameworks when we need to make the big decisions, or maybe if we're not reaching? No, yeah, I'll leave it as is. I'll leave the question. Why do we feel this need to reach for things to help us make decisions, and
Okay.
in what ways can they help, but also how can they hinder? It's kind of a twofold, and you can pick out parts that you want to respond to, um
Okay.
because I layered it up there, but I just feel like they all kind of go together.
Okay, that's good. I took a note so I remembered. Um, and I really like that question actually. It's like, why do we reach for those tools? So I'm gonna think about like honestly, okay, so our brains can only like hold like like 4 to 7 things at a time or something. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's like our memory only has room, active memory only has room for like four to something things at the one time. And so I honestly think that doing the pros and cons list or the cons or the cost risk benefit long-term benefits list or um like asking myself the whys, I think like it just takes off the mental load a little
Mm,
bit. Like it kind of like yeah, I don't know, especially when you have like so many things going on, right? Like, because I mean, the decisions that we're making is amongst our everyday life, right? It's not like we get 3 days off to make this really big decision. Like, we have to do that in moments while we're also juggling all of the
yeah.
other things that we're responsible for. So, I think sometimes that can be really helpful, and there's like just yeah, it just there's a bit of a disconnect for like what we else we have going on in our mind. And then the other thing that kind of comes to mind, because we talked about it a little bit earlier, like around the fear and like the
Yeah.
emotional side of decision making, I think for me, like it creates some distance between my
Yeah.
emotions. So it's like, yeah, it just gives a little moment to pause or like has a little gap where um I think helps with like my rationality a little bit maybe because if I'm trying to make a decision from a really like emotionally heightened place, um yeah, I'm not sure that that decision I'm going to be like super like comfortable with if I was in like a calmer rational place, right?
Mm,
I remember it was one time like I don't remember who said this to me now, but it was like don't make decisions when you're angry and don't make promises when you're happy, right?
yeah.
And like that's so true. Like it's so true because yeah, when we make decisions based on our emotions, it might not be super aligned with like yeah values and all those things. So those are a couple of things I guess of the why do we reach for like the tools, or I guess why I reach for the tools that I
Yeah.
do. um and yeah, there are things that can be bad with that. Like there's things that could be like challenging with those tools and also things that would be helpful. Like I just think about I and you gave a really good example of like the pros and cons list because I can relate to that of like being like probably 95% of the time I'm going to find all the good things about
Yeah.
something different. And I really love that idea of like doing that for your current situation too, and then comparing the two because I think that's a way of like grounding. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess one of the things that could be challenging about some of the tools is like our bias that we hold, right? Or our experience with, you know, wanting or needing or just enjoying something different and something new. Um, yeah, yeah, maybe I'll stop there.
Well, you touched on so many things that like also feels true for me as well. And I think that creating the distance is something that I had thought about. Yeah, creating that emotional, like that distance between the emotional experience that we're having around making big decisions. Because, yeah, I mean, big decisions often impact multiple areas of our lives. So it's like something to give some considering thought to. And if it's all, like I've already said, for me, it also, I reach for them because it helps me clarify the chaos that's up here when the trains are going in multi, like different tracks and crossing all over each other very quickly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let me take all of that and brain dump it out and shake it out and sort it. Like that helps me to ground. You used another word, which I really relate to, is to ground it. But I'm thinking about the Tiffany who was a lot more avoidant of making changes and decisions and like nervous to do so. These tools sometimes get in my way because they could paralyze me into inaction. Like if I when I swung when the pendulum swung from like I always made impulsive decisions to now, oh my God, I'm going to overthink everything to death. Sometimes
Mm,
they gave me well, I haven't fully thought this through, or let me like dissect this a little bit more. So it kind of got in my way a little bit of being able to be in action. I just thought a lot and
yeah.
didn't do anything until my hand was forced. And then it's like, oh, I've got no choice. Now the decision, like, because I didn't clarify. Love, I'm going to come back to your very first thing you said. It's like, I didn't clarify what the decision was to be made. Like, I didn't set up, like, is this one finite decision? Like, what is the time frame in which I have to make this decision? I
Mhm.
was just worried about making it. So I thought about it a lot, thinking I was being active, but didn't ever do anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Like you're talking about inaction and like spending too much time trying to figure out the decision
Right
versus the
decision.
yeah, the right decision. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, because if you're on the outside looking in, it looks like I'm being responsible and I'm taking time to make the decision, but really it's just a way for me to stall making a decision because I'm nervous about not making the right decision. Like loss,
Yeah.
I guess if I was to zoom out from that, maybe a little bit of loss of trust in my intuition and because I did lose trust in my intuition from moving from impulsivity to like being more conscious and it's like oh my God, I never thought about any of these things before. Now, just like the dental surgery, it's like I never thought about all the risks and all the things before.
Yeah.
Like I just moved, you
Yeah.
know? So I feel like that ties into it. A lot of, yeah, wanting it to be right and like afraid to take a step. So I don't. So I just think it to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my hand has been forced multiple times in that situation. So, and then it's like maybe not the decision I would have made if I was making it from an empowered place versus like avoidance, scared, dysregulated. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that's going to be true for everybody, but that was true for me if I, because of the fear piece. And I don't know. I think next time I make a big decision, I'm already taking a few things from what you said, but I think the next time I go to make a decision, I think I might just try how that feels for me, like looking at the worst case scenario and being like, okay, I can manage that. And I mean, I've done that in general, but I don't think I've done that around decision making in specific. So yeah. So, with anything else you'd like to say about the practical logical side that's kind of come in as we've been talking before we switch gears into intuitive?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think I'm looking forward to the intuitive
Me
part
too.
of this conversation.
Me too. Jess and I love to woo.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah. So I think the funny thing for me, I'll set this up this way. I think the funny thing for me about the intuition is that sometimes when I open my mouth about what I gut know to be true or what I feel so strongly is that when I open and I try to put words to that experience sometimes, I sound like I'm talking a bunch of nonsense. And I'm like, how's anyone even going to take me seriously? Because I remember I left a voice note, and to my girlies in my mastermind, if you're listening, I sent them a voice note, my business mastermind coaches, and I was like, there's this opportunity, like, I don't know, I feel this about it, and then this, and this happened. I could hear myself talking. I was like, they're going to think I'm nuts. There was a glance in this direction. There was a hint dropped over here about this. But like, for me, truly and honestly, following my intuition is almost like following these little, I know I sound crazy, it's fine. Following these little breadcrumbs of like nuggets of things that just feel true in my body. And I don't even know if I can fully explain what that is, other than when I know it, I know it. And I can't get into the details too much, but one of the things I knew to be true showed up today in the job interview. And I was like, I knew it! But I didn't know it. I knew it, but I didn't know it.
Yes.
And that moment of connecting back in the summer, I knew that was a breadcrumb towards this thing. And when I was making this very logical decision, that was looming in the back of my mind this whole time. But what about that? And I was like, well, that sounds like a crazy reason to go forward with this decision because one thing was said in one moment. Anyway, I wish I could give more
Yeah.
details. Maybe I can in the future because I know I'm talking vaguely. But um, anyway, so what does it mean to actually trust our intuition in spite of logic? Because sometimes they're not aligned. Sometimes it feels crazy. I'm going to speak from my own experience. Yeah, you got a face.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what's going to come out. Thinking.
I know. I was just, it was funny because as you were like, you're like, I know that sounds like crazy or woo woo or whatever. And I was like, oh man, like I'm right here alongside you. Like, I get it. I'm hearing exactly what you're saying because I can relate to that so many times. And what's interesting for me is that, um, I've always had an intuition. Like, I've always had that gut feeling. And it did take a long time for me to trust it, right? Like to
Yeah.
really lean in and say like, yeah, like I get it on paper. Sorry, I said my work phone went off. Um but yeah, like it took a long time for me to get to a space where I could feel confident in
Mm-hmm.
what my gut was trying, my intuition was trying to tell me. And I think, yeah, there's a long list of reasons I'm sure why that was, but you said something earlier about like the right decision, right? And I think so. The thing is our intuition, I think, is built from patterns, right? And our like logical mind can't articulate that part.
Yeah.
So I think our brain, like, yeah, we pick up on the things that have happened in our experiences, or we recognize patterns, or we're able to like detect, I don't know, like risk or like maybe moments of opportunity, or I don't know, we're able to like pick up on these things, but our logic mind is like that. How do we say that though? Like, how can we just say is like what our body feels? It's just, yeah. So it is hard to articulate. Even as I'm talking now, it's a hard thing to articulate.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a gut feeling is not magic. I don't believe it to be magic. I think it's my brain. Like, my brain is showing up in all of my past experiences that just validates, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what, yeah, the feeling, I guess. So yeah, sometimes when we talk about intuition, people think it's like some of this like it's a magic kind of thing that happens. I'm like, no, it's actually not. Like, it has to be scientific. Like, I don't know what the science is, but like, it just has to be. Um, anyway, so I don't even really remember the question, but I don't know if I've answered it. But I do really, I do really like, as you can tell, like I just get passionate about intuition and trusting my gut and all of those things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the scientific part of it, like the magic. I understand why you're saying like it's not magic because yes, people really discredit the things that are not scientifically measurable or
Mhm.
whatever. But there is, for me, the feeling of it does feel magical to me of the intuition because it's like, oh, like look at all of these things that came. Like when I listened to it and I trusted it and it all unfolds in front of me. And a direct example I can give is when I was reaching out to start a coaching program, I just had a gut feeling it was a yes. Not the coach training, but it was learning how to set up my own coaching framework program to invite other women into. And I
Mm.
went on her website and just the language read to my values and my experience and that alignment piece. And then I was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to earn back my entire investment in one go. I'm going to do that. And I did. And so when that all unfolded in front of me, was I a hand in creating that? Heck yes. But did that feel magical? Yes.
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah.
so magical.
Yeah.
Because it was a big decision. I was investing, quite a few grand into something, and I was like, this is the biggest thing I've done in terms of my business right now. And can I trust that gut? And I was sick in the moment making the decision, but like the intuitive evidence was there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's so true. And like I think you're right. Like especially because when we do lean into that and we trust our gut, like it feels good. Like it feels good to know
Yeah,
like I do know it's affirming, right? To be like, yeah, I do know what it is that I can do or I'm capable of or I can, like it just feels really good to be able to trust that part of ourselves. And like I think our intuition reflects like who we actually are.
yeah,
Like, and I think logic is the thing that like reflects what we should do or the wrong decision or
yeah.
that sort of thing. So I just think I want to be more of like who I actually am, right? And lean into that intuition.
Yeah. I like that. And who I actually am. And just kind of I don't know. This is where my very faith and surrender to higher power when I can let go of that control, because we've talked about that a lot here. And that is a very important part of my recovery and my relationship with myself is connection to a power higher than myself. But I feel like when I'm in tune with that intuitive voice and I am like aligning my footsteps, that bigger picture that's going to unfold for me no matter what, because I do believe what is for us shows up for us. Like it might not show up in that moment, but I do think it comes back around. Like I do think what is meant for us will be there for us. And we don't need to stress too much about all the decisions. But yeah, that I can trust in that bigger picture, like because my logic told me I wanted for this job. I'm going to bring it back to this because this is how I'm grounding it for myself. But I wanted to play more and maybe rest more and do all these things. But when I stripped all of that away, what was really underneath that is I wanted easy. And I'm not even saying that's wrong. I'm not saying easy is wrong. But when I look at my values and my mission statement and all these things that I have for myself, I want growth. I want expansion. I want to step into spaces that make me uncomfortable. And yet here's an opportunity presenting itself to me. And I'm like, I don't know, like, and
Mhm.
I think fear, I know we've already talked about this, but like fear and logic, I think can get really intermeshed sometimes. And like, I hear this a lot when I'm talking to my kid. I'm just being logical. And I'm like, like in my mind, I'm like, maybe I want to strip that down a few more layers. But I mean, he's 12
Yeah.
still. But I do think like I think part of not just even the intuition stuff, but the spiritual side of things for me is that I trust there is a bigger picture unfolding for me and for me, not to me, for me. And so like
Mhm.
when I listen to that intuitive voice, it helps me align my steps in that direction more. It's kind of what I feel. I'm not negating my logical side. I think it has a very strong purpose. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you can resonate with any of that or if you have different viewpoints on that. But yeah, just leaning in towards those aligned footsteps.
Yeah, I mean I think like yeah, I think there has to be a level of logic as well, right? So the way I always phrase it myself, and this is what resonates for me anyways, is like I do have my head in the clouds. Is definitely in the clouds. And also my feet are very grounded. And so
Mm-hmm.
like that's the logical part, right?
Yeah.
Is my feet are grounded. Like I know that something that I'm about to embark upon is going to take a lot of work, or it's going to not be easy, or maybe I know it's going to be really easy and that's why I want to do it. Like there's a logical part that I stay grounded in,
Yeah.
but I just really appreciate being able to have head in the clouds to lean into the intuition because yeah, like I will say the decisions that I've made, that I've been able to lean more into that, like into my intuition, um those decisions have been more aligned with like the things that are really important to me in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, yeah, sometimes I've had to make decisions that are quick and easy because they're easy, right? To just get it done, and um like I can't even think of like a really like concrete example, but I do think there are moments where decisions were just kind of like, yeah, whatever, like we'll just decide something and it doesn't like it doesn't matter. Maybe it's not like such an impactful thing. Um but yeah, I do think that there needs to be room for like both. And that's why I always like using the duality, right? Like of
Yeah.
two things at the same time, because I feel like any really far over here and then any really far over here, like you kind of lose sight of the other side. And then
Yeah.
I don't feel like balance is something that's really important to me, one of my values. So I think maybe like that's why I keep kind of like having that visual in my mind. Like I can see like when I'm going really far to one side versus the other. And
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned something about like higher power, like that connectedness. And yeah, like whatever that is true for anybody, it's going to look different for us all.
Yeah.
um but it's like just an added layer of like to know, okay, like there's something else at play, right? And to be honest, like sometimes I think about making decisions, like I can make what I feel is the right decision, or I come to terms with a decision. um and ultimately, like, if it's not the right thing, it's going to work its way around to be the right thing, right? So what is
Mm-hmm.
going to be for me, like, it might not. Yeah. So like I said, it's so hard for me to articulate anything around like the intuitional, like, or intuition and kind of like spiritual thing. But um, yeah, anyways, that's like, I don't know, something that I do lean on a lot.
Yeah. And the fact that we both share that it's hard to articulate, I'm gonna bet people listening are able to relate to that because we're
So,
trying to communicate like this spiritual and yet this deep feeling thing, and like deep feeling things they don't need words. They don't really need words because it's felt, it's known, it's present.
yeah.
And that's why, trust me, I tried to outsource this decision to many people. Jokingly, like I was like, oh, I just wish someone could make this for me because this is such a big decision. But like, what a disservice I would do to myself to outsource the decision to somebody else because they would have
Mhm.
made it in the lens that it would have made sense to them, not in what makes sense to me. And
Yeah.
I think the other piece of it is trusting the intuition doesn't, or even the logic, no matter which way you go, doesn't mean we're going to make the easy decision or that it's going to make it easier. Like sometimes it's still really freaking hard.
So
um
true.
Especially with like life-changing things like selling homes, divorces, like breakups. It doesn't have to be divorce, like big breakups, big moves, like, changing career. Like those things impact different areas of our lives for different reasons. And so, yeah, sometimes like we're talking about and we're having fun here, but sometimes making those decisions like can be very challenging. And just because we sort it doesn't mean it makes it easy.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely.
Yeah. When a question for you, because I know that this is definitely true for me, but have you ever ignored, and if you don't have a direct example, that's okay, but have you ever ignored your intuition, like in making a decision or following it or whatever the case may be, to only come back and find out that it was very much correct and you're like, oh, darn, I guess I didn't. Like, do you have any concrete?
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, so many, like, because like I said, I know I've always had an intuition. I didn't know that's what it was called. Like I
Yeah.
know my spiritual realm was very, very, very narrow. Like, I think even 10 years ago, 15, like it was just very, very, very small and narrow. And so I would always be like, I thought that was going to happen, or like, how did I know that was going to
Yeah.
happen, right? And like people are like, well, you didn't know it was going to happen. I did. I just knew it was going to happen. I can't tell you how.
Yep.
And also when people look at you weird when you say that, so then you stop saying it too, right? Like I
100%.
would stop saying like, something don't feel right here. Like this is weird for me. Because if you can't say the well, you don't have any proof that it's going to, turn out a certain way. And this is funny, but like I remember dating, right? In like being a modern day dater, I guess, a few years ago. Like I would immediately know, right? Like if it's the first time I'm meeting someone, I would immediately know. I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
And people would be like, oh, like, you're so indecisive, or you don't know what you want, or like don't like don't pass something up so quickly, like all of these things. I don't know, man. If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. Or when I knew it felt like, like, okay, like this feels nice. Like it feels good. I feel safe, feel comfortable. My intuition was like telling me that. Then it would be fine, right? But it's like viewed in this way of like, if you don't have concrete information, people just kind of like brush it off as like, well, you don't actually know that, only to come to find out, like, I don't know, like really weird things about this person that you're like, see, I told you, I knew
Yep.
that, like, I knew the vibes were off, like, anyway, so yeah, I say I most of the time, like, or I can definitely have like moments where I can reflect on in meeting people, whether there was is dating or not, to be honest. Just
Yeah.
that was one of the first things that came to mind of like some examples. But yeah, I think like around people, just like gauging a vibe of people. I've been very right about about those moments.
Yep. I relate to that so much. Like, I'm so glad you just shared that. You know what it's reminded me of is there's a meme or a reel that floats around every once in a while back in my algorithm about like they're classifying as just ADHDers. I don't think it's specific to people with ADHD, but it's like when the ADHDer walks in the room and it's like the vibes are off, we all leave, the vibes are off. But basically those people that are more energetically in tune, it doesn't need to be labeled by a diagnosis, maybe more energetically in tune to a space. Or again, you kind of said this in the beginning, like have those pattern recognition skills that when you walk into a room, you're like, there's just a deep felt sense of knowing. And I think, well, I identify as being a very deep feeling person, so like I walk into a space and I'm like, something is not clear and something is chaotic in here and what is going on, is like, there it is. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there it is.
Yeah.
I actually said that today. I was like, especially as someone who bartends, I have to be very keen on gauging the temperature of the room at all times, because in a split moment with alcohol involved, things can get real dicey real fast. So like being aware. So I think it's a good skill set to have, but when you try to tell somebody who maybe isn't in the deep feeling space, which isn't wrong either, like there's no right or wrong here, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And then yeah, but I don't know about you, Jess, but something, because like you said, I always had an intuition too. I feel like we're born with it. It's something that we become a lot of us become disconnected from. I know it's been true for me.
Mhm.
And something that in the disconnection phase is I don't know if gaslight is the right word, but maybe, but also like I would go in and I would assess a situation so quickly, I would then be judgmental towards myself. Well, you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what's going on. So then I would like backtrack what I already knew. And just like you were saying, and then you start to see the weird behavior come out from someone. It's like, well, yeah, I saw that from day one, but I was like, no, you're being too judgmental, Tiffany. Like you're making a snap decision. Like,
Yeah, and it just like affirms then, like, so you do that to for yourself, right? Like backtrack and like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I'm being a little judgy, or maybe I should give this person a shot, or maybe, like maybe that they're nicer than what I feel like they are, or like whatever, right? And then it just, yeah, other people also affirm that for us. Like they say like don't do that. Like you don't actually know what this person's like. You just
Right.
met them, or you know, you don't actually know what's going to happen. You don't, because nobody really knows what's going to happen. And which is like, yeah, well, I guess logically that is true. Um, and even with, this is funny, but like also I do this all the time. All the time I do this. I'm sure it drives people around me crazy. Like even if it's like something that's very clear, like it could be like, okay, we're going to leave and we're going to go to Walmart, right? And Walmart is a 10-minute drive. And then I might say, and this is like a really off the wall example, but I might be like, I'm going to pack a lunch. What if it takes us like 3 hours? And then like, but it like literally takes us 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know it's going to take you 10 minutes. Like, what if it does take you 10, like 3 hours? Like, and that's like a really like, I can't
Yep.
really articulate a good example, but I always do that thing where it's like, we don't know, right? Like, nothing is like so concrete. So even with your logic, you look it up on a map and it says it's going to be 10 minutes to get there. Logic also is wrong,
Yeah.
like all the time. So, anyways, I just often challenge that because I'm like, it doesn't make it any more right than my intuition, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, an accident could happen. The weather could dramatically change. The car could break down. I mean, there are lots of things that could
Yeah,
influence getting there in 10 minutes. That's not, I mean, if anything, that is still
exactly.
logical. Like,
We don't know.
no.
Like, we don't know. Oh my God.
When you were giving that example for anyone who watches The Big Bang Theory, there's an episode where, do you watch Big Bang Theory at all, Jess? I can't remember.
I have watched, yeah, I have watched it.
Okay. Well, there's I don't know, it's like halfway through the series, so somewhere between season 6 and 8, I think. There's I've watched it many times over,
Yeah.
but Raj hosts a scavenger hunt for all of his friends to find this mystery thing. And Sheldon is packing his bag, smart as a whip, right? And his partner's like, "Why are you taking a bowling ball? You don't know. You don't know. Basically, I might need this bowling ball." And sure enough, one of the clues led to the bowling alley. And he's like, "My brain is better than everybody's." And when you were giving that example, that's just what that made me think about. He trusted that I don't know if this is going to go to a bowling alley. I'm going to carry this with me.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't
See, he
know.
trusted his intuition. He was
Yeah.
like, you don't know. I feel like I should bring this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring it.
I'm going to bring the bowling ball. I don't care if you think I'm crazy.
I
Anyway,
love
yeah, as you were giving that example, is what I
Oh,
thought. I do recognize we do have a lot more we could have talked about, but we are almost at time, believe it or not, which is wild.
wow. That's great.
This went very, very fast. So I think
Yeah.
let's I want to, you said something and I kind of wanted to save it before I tied back into it, and we'll probably close it out around this instead of some of the other things that we have planned. But you said something really great, and I would like to kind of ground into that as like kind of a closing note. And you're like, my head is really in the clouds, but my feet are also firmly on the ground. And I see that as such a beautiful intersection of balancing like this logical, practical side with our more intuitive, spiritual side. And I don't know, maybe you could offer clarity, maybe you can't, I don't know, but I would like to ask, how have you come to develop the ability to hold both in that duality place? Like how have you learned to recognize some of that? I can speak from my own lens as well, but I just thought that was such a beautiful way to blend both of them together. That shows that we can have both at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot. Yeah, I think what I can share in that is that it's taken a really long time to
Totally.
have that
Yeah.
balance. And I just always am very open to more than one like possibility or more than one reason or way. And so if my head is in the clouds, that allows me to be really open to things like the you don't know, right? Like in the clouds, but also my feet are firmly grounded in the way of like, yeah, I'm probably not going to pack like a suitcase to go to Walmart, right? Like, and so I think it's important to be grounded in moments of like because yeah, we don't want to lose sight, or I don't want to lose sight of my values, of my beliefs, of the things that are really important to me. So keeping the open mind, but really staying aligned is where the groundedness comes, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's hard to explain, I guess, how that happened and how I've done that. I think just a lot
Yeah.
of practice and
Yeah.
a lot of trusting myself to be able to hold that space. And not, I don't always get it right. I'm not saying I always get it
Yeah, of
right, but
course.
just to it just took a lot of practice of just letting things go and then really grounding myself in my values, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, practice I think is a really good word because yeah, it's like a skill set, like anything, right? Like learning how to cultivate that balance and find the space that feels good and holding both for each unique person because like it might feel a bit different for you compared to me. And
Mhm.
what I can say to like tag off of what you just said is that there are sometimes some cues if I pay attention, like when I am too in one or the other. When I am too into my practical logical side, I might be a little bit more rigid and fixed actually. And you really just highlight that too when you're like, I can be in the clouds and I can be open because you're right. That is where my dreamer, for me, my dreamer
Mhm.
stuff comes out. But I also notice that when I can sometimes get really lost in that dreamer sphere where things become really mystical and magical and then I might not be acting from a place. It's not, I don't even want to say it's delusional. I feel like that has such a negative connotation, but also it's not right. Like where I'm coming from more of this place of delusion versus like, how am I actually going to make that happen? Or like, what does that truly mean? Or, and so a lot of my life, I did find myself locked in this. I was an ideas girl. I had so many brilliant ideas. But when you asked me to put that into actual motion, I had no idea. And I think that's a really good point is like that practice of grounding and like what some of the ways we can do that is like even learning how to be action oriented towards things we're working towards. And like you and I've talked about SMART goals and stuff. Some of those types of frameworks are also ways where we can like kind of ground back into a more of a logical thing instead of like, yes, it's so beautiful for me to have all of this space up here where I can frolic and be in my happy magical place and think about all the beauty and all the things and what's possible, but then also really reconnecting with that part of like, okay, how, you know
Yeah.
that's great, that's
Yeah.
wonderful, and I might not need to know all the steps, but what is my next step, what is the first thing I'm going to do, and really trying to find some of that balance is a good word, you use that, so that's yeah, the balance of the two, but I
Yeah, I
can't.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. I think that's yeah, you're right. It's the action, it's like the how. Yeah, I think that's a good word, the how, right? It's the
Yeah.
action of the grab. Hmm.
Yeah, like how can I bring this down into my 3D reality for anyone
Yeah.
who, yeah, yeah, just like, yeah, how do I make this happen? So, and I will echo it. I still get lost in, I prefer to be in my magical woo woo space. Like I prefer to be head up in the clouds. I love it up there. Like it's
Me
fun,
too.
it's light, well, it's not always light, but there's lots going on and lots to think about and connectedness and um but yeah, learning it's only been in the last, I don't know how many years, but it's been in more recent years in being a parent and you can't just live up there. Like things need to get done or things need to be actualized and yeah,
Totally.
yeah. So on that note, I think we're either just over an hour or just under an hour. We will close it down there. But Jessica, do you have any last thoughts before we close up for today around decision making or around anything we talked about today?
No, I think I can't believe it's already been
I
time, to be
know.
honest. This has been a really, really good conversation. So I'm happy to have had the opportunity to have this conversation because I think it came at a good time. So yeah.
Awesome. I agree. And as we clarify some big decisions over the next little bit of direction and all this, we'll be sure to be in touch with all of you listeners. If you have feedback, you want to submit things that maybe you'd like to see, we're always open to that. We've talked about that from day one, but that is still very much true. We just love coming here and co-creating these spaces that we hope is nourishing, and whatever you need to take from it, you're able to take from it as well. So that will always be here, but where we go with it, we're going to clarify. So I'm excited about that. And for everyone who's tuning in, thank you for being here. We love having you as part of our community. And until next time, stay soulful, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into Soulfull. We hope you found something meaningful to carry with you on your journey. And if you enjoyed today's episode and want to show your support, we invite you to subscribe, share the podcast, and leave a review wherever you listen.
And if you're eager for more, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Soulfull the Podcast for additional content and updates. Until next time, stay soulful.